Hello and welcome to a very addictive episode of the Drywall podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, Kyle Catling out of Calgary, Alberta, and also developer of Drywall Junkies. He's a 38-year-old boardman with a knack for coming up with original pages on Facebook.
I was like, well, let's try to link all the people, because I moved from Ontario to Alberta. I worked up in Fort Mac, and I met people from all over Canada up there. And so I just wanted to link us all together and kind of start sharing tips and pictures of the trade and things that we've been doing and stuff. And, I had like 5-10 members in the beginning of the people that were on Facebook. And then, we just slowly, it was such a slow crawl for a long time because Facebook groups were just getting started and we didn't even, no one really knew what they were.
Kyle and I talk about the meager beginnings of Drywall Junkies and it being the first drywall-specific page on Facebook. We talk a little bit about podcasts and the drywall community. And we also talk about the process of promoting their new brand and rebranding. Kyle is very knowledgeable about the drywall industry, and we cover a lot of bases. The Drywall Podcast was brought to you today by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. If you'd like information about Fresco Harmony, the Drywall Podcast, or anything, please feel free to email me at info@frescoharmony.com. For now, Kyle Catling on the 32nd episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. We have Kyle Catling with Drywall Junkies in the house on the podcast today. So, and I'm excited. I'm actually excited for this one. But here's what came to mind for me. Like, we had a conversation, but I feel like I had to wrangle you a little bit because you didn't really know who I was, and you're like, "What is this guy?" But I got really excited when you texted me, and you were like, "Oh, okay. I listened to a couple podcasts. You're not a crackhead." Like,
I was thinking about it on the way back home, but it's gone through my head many times to start my own podcast. And I was like, so he started it, and then he learned as he went on, because I listened to Paps Duggins. I wanted to listen to your first one, which I think Paps is a beauty, because just his video editing and everything is just like, I just love it. I love it. And how he goes about it, and the drywall alien and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool. And then, I just kind of tuned into 15-20 minutes here on this podcast and kind of listen to a couple. Listen to Daniel, because you suggested that I listen to that one, so I listened to that for a bit.
Daniel Osborne?
Yes, I think it was Osborne. Anyways,
that one's pretty funny.
The Drywall Magazine guy, was that Daniel? Was that his name?
David Lee.
David, there you go. I knew it was a D. Listen to that one, and I was listening to the drywall. I listened to the Drywall Artist a little bit, real quickly, because we have this company up here in Canada called Shoemaker Drywall, and I don't know if they're in the States or not, but they're pretty big out here out west, and they have this whole drywall art. It's a picker truck, and it's got all the details, fine details, all made out of mud, and it's really cool. So I wonder if maybe he had his hand in it or somebody, but it was pretty neat.
I haven't heard of that. There's a lot, I got your little stamp of approval, so that made me feel good. We're drywallers, man. We got these heavy egos, and especially somebody that starts a cool page like Drywall Junkies. And we'll sort of dive right into that. But and I don't know if you know this, or as you listen to more podcasts, and I'll give you some suggestions of podcasts to listen to, like the Columbia Tools with Aaron and Elliot. It's a 2-part podcast, and those are
seen
great.
That,
those are really good. Joe Koenig with Trimtex. There's a bunch of good ones.
a lot of them there. So
So,
and like
but
when I go through the list too, I recognize so many names in there, and I'm just like,
yeah,
yeah, I know you, I know you, I know exactly. Like
yeah,
I know how a lot of the personalities are because they brought themselves out on Drywall Junkies, and they have a lot of
yep,
like social. A lot of the names that you have on there have good social media followers, so
yeah.
they put themselves out there a lot, and that's basically what the page is all about too. So
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I originally I was inspired by the pages. I mean, Fresco Harmony has a page, but it doesn't do much. Like I was like, I'd always wanted to do a drywall podcast specifically based on the Facebook pages. I think Drywallers Worldwide was the first one. It was either Drywallers Worldwide or Drywall Junkies. Now, you told me that Drywall Junkies was the first. So
I would say we're the first.
now, are you a
We
hundred? Are you 100% with that, or are we going to get
Man,
like
when Facebook groups first came out, I was like right on top of it,
okay,
and I was one of the things I Googled was drywall, and nothing popped up, so we started her up. I'm thinking like what probably 2000, like right in 2010, right at the end, or right in the beginning of 2011, but I'm pretty sure it was 2010. And
okay,
yeah, and when listening to the Drywall Magazine podcast, he mentioned that he started about 8 years ago. So we're 12 years in. I think around 8 years ago, we probably had like 15,000 members. I brought in a couple moderators. Um, I'll drop their names: Ike,
yeah, sure,
Steve, Kayla's one of the newer ones, but then we also had Julio Martinez, which he's been really busy with his own business, so he backed away from being a moderator. But those
yeah,
are the first three that came in, um, and yeah, they stick it out and they're with us through the thick and thin of it. So it's
cool,
awesome. They help moderate the page, take care of all the name calling and
yeah,
all the other crap that we hear on there, and then also help with our member approval and stuff like that. And I
okay.
always bounce ideas off them too because they kind of keep me in a straight path. Sometimes I get some crazy ideas and they're like, Kyle, no, just calm down. I think
What's
we're
it?
the OG, and I don't know if anybody else has got any other information. Come at me.
Okay, all right. So you heard it here. I'm gonna spin it like, the originator of the Facebook stories. Now, what's interesting about the Canadians that I'm finding is they're primarily Instagram,
Right.
which is weird to me. I Instagram to me was secondary, but we might be a little older. How old are you?
I'm 38.
38. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're younger than me. 38. But like I was, it was like Facebook and then Instagram came out. Like, so I think probably, I don't know, when did
Actually, I
it?
Googled it. Instagram came out October 6th, 2010. And then I
Okay.
also Googled when Facebook groups came out because I was kind of like making sure that my story is correct.
Yeah. Good. You
And
were fact checking.
it says October 6th, 2010. So I don't know if they might have came out with the same time, but Instagram came out just after um or right around the same timeline as the Facebook groups. So
Okay.
um at least that's what my phone told me. If there's somewhere else different on the internet, then I don't know about that. But basically the Instagram we've kind of like we stayed away from for quite a while. I'm just starting to get into using it a little bit more for my actual
Yeah.
my drywall business as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really cool platform, and
Yeah.
you got Drywall Nation on there. They're massive on Instagram. Um and actually you brought up the hand finishers, drywall hand finishers, and they're
Hmm.
like over 100,000 members. I don't know when that happened because I've been keeping a pretty close eye on where Drywall Junkies is with everybody else because I always wanted to be top dog on Facebook,
Yeah.
and they've blown us out of the water. And I really hope that it's more tradesmen and tradespeople than homeowners. But like we were in battle for a while with Plasterers Talk Group, and those guys are out of the UK. And
Yeah.
when we got closer to 40,000, they were kind of right around there. And then we kind of took off from there. And then they've
Okay.
stuck around the 35, 40,000 mark. So it's pretty cool to see how everybody's, leveling up and helping each other out. And I love some of the mindsets of like the other people that have groups, and it's just cool. I want to hold credit though for being the pioneer, so to
Yeah.
speak, to kind of get it out there. And
Unless they can prove us wrong.
yeah,
It was Drywall Junkies. They were out of the gate first. I can't really say that I was first in the podcast space. There's a couple others, man, but I'm right up there. There's nothing in this space, dude.
yeah,
Like
not at all.
there was a Bill Gagne, and he was actually on the show. He started a podcast called the Flat Butts Podcast, and
Okay.
he only did 4 episodes, and he's like fallen off. But I hope he does more. But now Brawley's dad, Sean Ramsden, has started a podcast, but I don't think he's launched any yet. It's fairly new. There's a podcast called Off the Wall by USG.
I listen to like a lot of personal development podcasts and stuff while I'm
Okay,
driving, or
I do too.
yeah, yeah, like Tim Grover. I'm listening to some of his stuff right
Okay,
now.
I'll have to write that
Andy
down.
Frisilla, that guy blows my mind. The in your face type of just like gritty
Yeah.
mentality. That's what drives me, and like
Do you
that
listen to
comes just from
Gary Vaynerchuk?
Gary Vaynerchuk a little bit, a little bit. He's been out for a long time, so I listened to him a long
Yeah.
time ago, and
Yeah.
but yeah, the gritty in your face stuff is what gets me, and that comes just with the drywall mentality too, of like just like gritty, get her done, no holds bar, let's bust ass and make it happen, and no excuses, right? Like just get it done, kind of thing. So, which I love the idea mentality behind some of the podcasts you've had too, where
Yeah.
everybody's talking about like we're like a singled out group in the construction industry. Everybody's like, hey man, drywallers, they're just drywallers. All you guys do is put board on the wall, and it's like,
Yeah.
just like I forget his name again. Um Drywall Magazine. Anyways, he said, like no one works like us. They don't have that speed that you got to throw the sheets on and put the mud on the walls and just make it happen, but do a great
Yeah.
job at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're
We're
definitely
mud
singled out.
pigs. We're mud pigs, Kyle.
Yeah, mud pigs and
Yeah.
drywall donkeys.
Keep your damn mud off my ladder, you bastard. Get out of my way.
Yeah, you better clean that up. Yeah,
Yeah. We're the carp of the construction industry. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
and
way to put it.
I'm trying to change. I feel like, and there's a couple of podcasts where I feel like we need to collectively raise the bar, and I think things like Drywall Junkies and so also, I mean, there's a lot going on in my brain right now, but
No worries.
this is a loose format. We'll just talk.
Yeah, roll with it,
Um,
man.
the uh, the the podcast was kind of originated because I wanted to promote Fresco Harmony, but I wanted to take what was happening in the groups, and there was drywallers worldwide too. He's a cool dude, like I know him, and they were all cool
Yeah,
because it was a fine line between advertising my product, because I'll post like photos of Fresco, I'll leave a link, you know. The
yeah,
pages are a fantastic venue for advertising new products if it's legit, you know.
yeah,
Obviously I'm not going to post every post as a Fresco Harmony. I want to engage with the audience and, talk about and establish myself as an expert also in the trade.
correct. Yeah, yeah, that's
That's
huge.
just good etiquette. But the podcast was ultimately, I wanted to take that grittiness from the groups, the people like bantering back and forth, and give it a platform, give it a space. And so honestly, like the pages is actually what inspired the podcast. I wanted to promote my product, but I
Yeah,
want to hear from you. I want to hear from the dudes in the trenches that are putting mud on the wall, and I want to talk to them about their experience, what happened, why they chose this trade, their techniques, and things like that.
yeah.
So thank you to you for creating Drywall Junkies. I would like to talk about like what
Appreciate the appreciation.
Yeah, what made you want to create like a drywall page? Because I mean,
Okay, well, let's
that
get into
was
it.
12 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
before there was a page, you probably didn't expect for it to grow to 50,000, you know?
No, not even, not at all. Like maybe in the back of my mind somewhere it was like, oh, it'd be cool if this blew up. But the whole story starts from back when I was in Ontario. I live in Alberta now,
Okay.
Calgary, Alberta. But back when I was living in Windsor, Ontario, I got into the trade through a friend of mine. I needed a job. He said, "Yeah, go buy some tools, and I'll get you a job." So I went, spent the $50 I could back then, and got a
What'd you
job
buy?
making.
What'd you buy?
Oh, I bought the cheapest pouch you could from Home Depot. Not
Did you
their
get a
little apron
plastic
one, but
pan?
yeah. Oh well, no, I was getting into doing some drywall, so I bought like a drywall saw, a pair of snips, a tape measure, a square, like a speed square. I
Yeah.
think that was about it, really. I didn't even own a drywall gun or anything. I borrowed one off, or I rented one off of a journeyman there, and then
Nice, nice.
yeah, making $8 an hour. I started, and then I got a raise like nine
Beautiful.
bucks an hour a couple months later. But
Tool up,
yeah,
rookie.
so got into there. Yeah, exactly. And so we are building this old age home, and I started right off doing tops. I did 3 months tops. That's all I did was just tops, 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 all in the bathrooms and in the areas of their living space.
What does
And
that
from
mean?
there,
What does that mean for us Southerners tops? Is that like ceilings?
though, that would be like above, like, so the tops areas would be like where your pipes go through your HVAC, your plumbing.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yep.
so we call them boarding tops.
The
Anything
shit
that's above
work.
like your 10,
The,
12 feet. Yeah,
they gave you
yeah,
the
the
shit
shit.
work.
Exactly. But hey, that's where I started. I did 3 months at tops, so I learned how to, cut drywall into a bunch of pieces. My journeyman told me, he's like, think triangles, and I never understood it. I was like, what do you mean by that? So then finally, like 2 days later, he came. I'm like, you got to come help me. So he comes up and he starts drawing lines on it from pipe to pipe, and hitting 16s and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what you meant. So I kind of learned from there. And then from that job, we ended up getting a phone call. So that company was like the non-union side of this company. It was a bigger company. They had a union side and a non-union side. Well, they brought us. They were building the casino Windsor. It's called Caesar's Casino or something like that in Windsor now. And they brought all us non-union guys to the site to push for a weekend. And we were going to make like double time money and all this stuff. And we went in there, and all the union guys that were there were like, this is bullshit. So they called the union rep. They all came down. We ended up all having to join the union. So that ended up happening. I ended up sticking in the union for a little bit down there. And then so we would get these letters, and I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. These little like catalogs or whatever every quarter of the year. And at the back of the quarter, or at the back of the magazine, they would have drywall tips and tricks. And one of the ones that I remember majorly is taking two chalk lines, tying them together or linking them together, so that when you're doing layout, instead of walking back and forth between each other, you would just reel one in, it would pull the other one out. You'd snap your lines. That guy would reel his in, it would pull the other one out. They would be attached together like that kind of. So you wouldn't have to
Cool.
walk back and forth. I have yet to find uh, operation that really works efficiently, but that's where it kind of got sparked my thought process. So then when Facebook group started up, I was like, well, let's try to link all the people, because I moved from Ontario to Alberta. I worked up in Fort Mac, and I met people from all over Canada up there. And so I just wanted to link us all together and kind of start sharing tips and pictures of the trade and things that we've been doing and stuff. And, I had like 5-10 members in the beginning of the people that were on Facebook. And then, we just slowly, it was such a slow crawl for a long time, because Facebook groups were just getting started, and we didn't even,
Yeah.
like, no one really knew what they were.
Yeah. What's the
And they
point?
didn't have like, yeah, they didn't have like keywords that you could search and anything like that. Like, you literally had to go in and do a physical search, instead of like it just popping up on your feed, because you have that you're a drywaller in your name. So the algorithms are way different now.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy for people to find them. But so then, I don't know, we got a couple, like, we hit like 100 members, then 500 members, and then 1,000. And like, you start getting those those people coming in, and then you hit like this one person that just like they'll invite like 20 of their friends and all of them come in, and then it's just like it starts going. And I managed the page by myself till about 15,000 members, and then when it hit 15,000, I was like, I can't do this by myself anymore. It's too much work. So that's when I brought in the moderators. But that's kind of where it all comes from.
How long did that take to get to like 15K?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years, something like that.
A while. Yeah.
Yeah, it took quite a while. Like I said, the beginning, it was super slow creep. Like, I don't know, we probably didn't even get 100 members in the first year.
And then do you go on? Are you a member of the other groups? Do you go on and check out the other groups?
Yeah, I'm members of them.
Okay.
Lately, in my last couple of years here, like I've been building my own business and stuff. So Facebook time for me is kind of limited. But I pop in every once in a while, and sometimes like we have some local groups too, Calgary Drywallers and Alberta Drywallers and stuff.
Have you been able to use the group as for now? Because ultimately too, I tried to get Ricky Moore. He kind of, some people are shyer, like they don't want to. Because I remember when Rick started Drywall Hand Finishers, and I talked to him on the phone, and he was mad because somebody was giving him shit because he was like a hand finisher, and they're like, why don't you use the tools, you idiot?
Yeah.
And so he was like,
see that happen.
He was like, screw you, I'm gonna go start the hand finishers page. Now of course there's all the tool guys are always like on the hand finishers page talking about running the tools, and the hand finishers are like, get out of here.
It's literally a hand finishers page. Yeah. So like Rick Moore, man, I remember him being on the page too, and he had a rough go. Like he had a lot of criticism on our page, and a lot of people were up his ass, and he was doing his best to fight back. I don't know if he left the group or if he's still part of it, but I just remember like there's been some battles, man. I don't know if you ever heard of Joe Reiger. You ever hear of that guy?
Oh yeah.
He's the guy that ate drywall mud. On like he did a video and he took a handful and he like.
Oh, I missed that, man. I would really.
He was like,
I know he's rowdy. He's a rowdy.
He's a little rowdy, yeah. But he was one of our top like commenters and posters for a long time, and like I was kind of watching that area too, because you can go in and check and see who's posting the most, who's liking the most, who's commenting the most, all that stuff. So he was a pinnacle one.
Well, like I said, I was a part of Junkies, but I was a part of a couple of groups, and then I would like sporadically like post, hey, I finished this job, it's colored mud, and I mean sometimes in the earlier I would get a lot of criticism and a lot of feedback. And, it would hurt me, and, it would like, screw you. And, maybe I'd get into it. I would get into it a little bit, but not like hardcore. But I remember the Junkies was exceptionally rowdy. And for me, I was just kind of like, because there was like some stuff on there that was like, kind of like super rowdy.
People would just go off and.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to keep it pro. I was trying to keep it pro from a Fresco Harmony standpoint, like a business owner standpoint. So I was kind of like, I'm going to go over to maybe a more professional page. But what I've noticed more recently is Junkies has toned it down. I really like the branding, and like, there's some swag now, and I feel like it's, you've sort of made it through. And now you're sort of competing on the level with some of these other pages where the moderators do have to be like, hey, dude, you can't say that. You got to chill out. It's not good. It's not good for the community.
Yeah, no, and that's I think a lot of the community's starting to realize that too. It's not just it is some of the work that we're doing, but I think that it's also the community too, realizing that, like you can go around and bashing people, but you'll be the one guy bashing someone, and then there's going to be 20, 30 people coming at you saying, hey man, leave this person alone. They're just trying to do the work, or maybe they're trying to learn something. So that's pretty cool. But we just, we'd let it roll a little bit because, we're all used to the construction site, and that's what we do. We bust each other's balls on the construction site anyways, and we kind of we wanted to let it go a little bit. We want it to be raw still. We want everybody to feel like they're at home, and because we're out there trying to make a buck as drywallers, and we're always getting our asses chewed out by GCs and other trades because you know how it is out there. Everybody thinks they're better than us, and so we like to keep it raw too, and let people speak their mind, but do it respectfully. Say your piece. If you got to tell someone they're being an asshole, then give her, but don't be the asshole. So
try not to be the asshole. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that is a very good that's a very good PowerPoint to this interview.
yeah.
If you go
Hey,
on the
well, hey, I
drywall
grew up like
groups.
here's a quick little story. Back on that same job site I was talking about earlier, it was maybe 2 months in or something like that, and I was working with this journeyman, and he fixing my snips. My snips, like when you're an apprentice, you fuck your snips up like every day, pretty much. So I'm like trying to work on my snips,
Now
and he
when you
comes up
say
and he's like,
snips,
"Oh,
are you
metal
talking
shears,
aviator shears, correct?
aviator shears,
Okay.
yes."
I had a boss one time. He was anal about calling everything by their correct name. And like, I would say, give me those yellow cutters, and he'd be like, you mean the aviator shears? So like,
Yeah, yeah,
just so we're
exactly.
all
I know, and
clear.
that's the one thing too that's been tough too is like people are like, what do you mean you're a sheetrocker? Like that's bullshit, And it's like, well, that's what we call it. We call it sheetrocking. We up here we call ourselves boarders. We're boarders,
Borders, yeah.
So
Bill was calling him Boardman,
or
which
boardman, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've
which
heard
is
that
kind of
term,
cool.
but
Yeah.
so yeah, that story is like the journeyman walks up. I'm using my aviation snips, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just fixing my snips." And he's like, "Well, let me see them." And he looks at them and he takes them and he whips them down the hallway and he says, "Get the fuck back to work." And I was like, "What do you mean? You just threw my tools down the hallway. Like, how am I supposed to fucking cut the studs?" And he's like, "I don't give a shit. Get the fuck back to work. Fix your tools on your own time."
Jeez
And
Louise.
yeah, and his name was Charlie Brown, and he had one eye, and he was just this fucking like he showed me some cool drinking tips too. He
Sure,
was just
sure.
such an alcoholic, man, and that
Yeah,
crew that I was working on there too. Like every lunchtime we'd go to the Legion, and they would try to like it was like a competition. They'd try to down as many beers as they could before we
awesome.
went back to work, right? And I'd
Yeah,
have my one beer and eat my lunch because I was just an apprentice. I didn't want to piss anybody off or whatever, but didn't
right.
matter. So that's just the hardcoreness of the trade is just like that's what I grew up in. So like seeing it online, I'm like, yeah, whatever, fuck, have some thick
Yeah,
skin,
yeah,
so
yeah.
but
But
it is
it's
getting better, and I think that we're moving in the right direction, and everybody's kind of collaborating to bring it all together and unify the trade, which is kind of what unions did. But then there's all that union non-union talk that goes on too, and union members calling non-members scabs and all that stuff
yeah,
too, and we're all just here trying to make a buck and work, and there is some shady people out there, but
yeah,
what are we going to do about that? You just live
yeah,
your life, do the best that you can as a human, and that's my whole thing is I want to help everybody. I want to elevate anybody that's around me, my family, my friends, my close companions at work, all that stuff, companies, products, anything I can do to help, I want to elevate. So that's kind of the backbone of Drywall Junkies. And maybe I didn't realize it back then of like that's where my core
yeah.
of who I was coming out, but that's just what it is and where it's turned into. And
There was no rules, or also there was no like, oh, this is how you do it. Like if you started a page today, you would have awareness. Like I think I was
yeah,
telling you, there's like the mentors page now,
right,
where it's like,
right,
hey,
which is really cool. I'm gonna go check that out.
the angels of drywall, like, hey, we're here to help.
The angels. Yeah,
But I know, so that's Mudman Dan. He's been on the show. He's a great guy, and it's actually a pretty cool page, And Pete, you can go on if you're new to the trade. You can go on the Drywall Mentors, and you can ask questions, and they won't break your balls. They may still
yeah,
because it is
yeah.
drywall, but but I think for the most part they're pretty cool.
But if you want it in the raw, go to Drywall Junkies because
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. If you
Well,
want to go, if you want to talk shit and read some fantastic threads, go to Drywall
yes,
Junkie.
there's some really good ones out
Because
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just voyeur around and like read the I'll get on threads like late at night and just be like, what in the world? Are you kidding? Are
Some
you
about the
kidding me?
funniest stuff sometimes
Throw
too.
away your shovel, man. Throw your and so I mean, I've always thought too that you could like as a page, you could create like there was God, what it was one of the you've probably seen the page. I think it's contractors,
Oh, contractor pros or
contractor pros, and it's the drill, the hook drill.
the
Like
hook drill. Oh yeah, yeah.
you've seen that. You've seen the
Or
hook drill.
sky hook.
The
The sky hook.
the sky hook, I think, the hook drill. It's the hook drill guy. Um, but he just gets bashed like to no end, to where like you don't even know, is this guy like a troll, or is this like because everybody just like bashes him so hard, and you read like the comments, and it's just like I
Yeah,
was
and
like,
he just like sticks it out.
yeah, he just
Um,
doesn't care. Like,
yeah, yeah.
he's like, yeah, we're selling. I'm gonna sell a bunch of these. I don't care what
I'm drawing
you.
a name blank right now, but he's a good dude. I've been in touch with him quite a bit here, and I've reached out to him too because
Berthards.
his
It's
page,
like Jason Berthards or something.
Jason, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I reached out to him to ask him some questions because that page grew very fast. And a
Oh,
lot of it
see,
was homeowner stuff, but that's like they weren't being so picky choosy because we want to keep it tradesmen and tradeswomen, tradespeople. We want to keep
yeah,
it that we want the page to be where
me
we
too.
all hang out. We don't want to have any homeowners and
Yeah,
stuff in there. Like, don't,
I'm not gonna interview like a carpenter or a plumber or something
right.
on the
Yeah,
Drywall
exactly.
podcast, you know.
Exactly. So yeah, so
Um,
that he's definitely helped me out a little bit here and there. And yeah, he just puts himself out there. He doesn't care. He's
he
just,
doesn't care.
saying what he thinks. And if
Yeah,
he gets attacked, he's like, hey, man, cool. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. Awesome. But, don't be a
yeah.
dick.
And it's
So,
and a lot of people are dicks. And like
yeah.
to me, it's like you could bottle that, like those comments and those threads. And I don't know if you've thought of this, but you can make like a Drywall Junkies like best of, where you like throw together like, here's the best threads of 2023. Like you got to check these out.
Yeah.
I
That's not
don't
a bad
know.
idea, actually.
I've always thought like, because there was a magazine called Found Magazine.
All right. I'm going to
Um,
write that down.
yeah, you should. That one's free, dude. I'm gonna charge you for the
Okay.
next one.
Awesome.
No,
Yeah. Next one. $5 a tip.
no. So there's a magazine called Found Magazine, and it's all just stuff people find on the ground, like notes, like little clippings of things, letters, thrown away notes that people write, like weird stuff on bathroom walls, which was actually another one, was
Hey.
like porta potty philosophy, like where you just
Yeah.
have an entire book of nothing but porta potty like sayings and isms, like would be really funny. But
Porta-isms. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, porta isms. But the threads, and you would know, or your moderators would know, or you could have like a Zoom call with your moderators and be like, hey, if you come across a really golden thread that's funny or awesome, write it down or make a note, and then we'll usher that to the side. Because I mean, you could put it into a literature, you could put it
Yeah.
into a book, or
Yeah. Well, we have a
drive.
website too, so that we could
There you
maybe
go.
put like we have like a feature section and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're working towards some of that stuff. The where I structured Drywall Junkies and everything in the beginning was more just for Facebook stuff, and I never really looked at it as a business model until probably 2017, 2018.
Okay.
So then, I started looking into like different ways that we can change the industry, and it's a slow creep. I don't have I'm a drywaller. I don't have a whole bunch of money to just throw at stuff, and I got
Yeah.
to pay bills too, so I got to work, and um,
Wait a
so it's
second.
going to be a slow creep.
You're not rich? Come on, man.
Depends who you ask, I guess.
Yeah. True.
Um, but yeah, so we're hopefully over the next couple of years we should be able to make some things happen with construction grade clothing and stuff, and um yeah, and just kind of make a change in the industry, and go toward we're going to work towards our social media to kind of get Instagram going. We're trying to get Instagram going a little bit more. So check us
Definitely.
out at Instagram if you guys got a chance. And yeah, we're just trying to. I have a social media team now, so we're just trying to consistently keep posting. Some of the posts that go on there, I don't get to see all of them all the time, so sometimes I'm like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't have posted that. It's a little soft for the industry, or doesn't really make sense. But at the same time, we're just trying to get our awareness up out
Like
there. And,
what? Like what?
oh, just we'll have like there was a picture the other day, and it was a barrel ceiling in a walkway, and I think the post said something like, this is a lot of work. And first comment was like, that's peanuts or something like that. That's pussy shit or something. I don't even
I
know.
can
I
do
can't
that in
remember.
my sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
the
did
only
10 of
comment
those.
on the post was like, "You suck, I'm better," you know, and
Yeah,
um, it
I
was just
love
like,
it.
okay, sure, whatever, right? So, um, but
My
yeah,
mom does
and
those. My mom does groin vaults in her sleep.
yeah, exactly, with no mud.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
With her hands. She smooths it out with her hands. She doesn't
yeah,
even use tools.
she uses a
Yeah,
kitchen spatula.
yeah, yeah. So monetizing, is like before the swag, was there a way that you were trying to monetize like Junkies? Did you try to approach like, so one of these tool manufacturers or
I
something?
did try to approach DeWalt tools, because I'm a DeWalt guy. I
Okay,
that's just what I've been using. I started my first impact gun was a 18-volt DeWalt impact gun, the big heavy motherfucker.
okay.
Um, and so I reached out to them one time, and I didn't even get anything back. So I was like, yeah, I guess we at that time I think we had 18 or 19,000 members. So I was just
Okay.
like, hey, we got this, and we're pushing well, and they didn't even get back to me. And
No.
um, I think at that point it might have even
Did
been
you
closer. It might have been actually, you know what? It might have been closer to 30,000 members. Um,
did you offer something?
I just said, hey, if you guys want to promote your tools on my page, I'd be more than welcome to do like a collaboration kind of thing. And we got this many members and whatever. And then they didn't even get back to me. So, but I haven't been one either that's been actively posting videos of me using tools and all that stuff. So maybe they didn't
Right.
see me as an advocate for their brand or something like that. So, um, but other than that, no, we haven't really reached out to anybody. Um, Not a lot of collaboration opportunities. So I've just been focusing on the members, and I'm not a greedy person either. I think everybody should work and earn what they need to earn. And if I'm not the one out there putting posts on and videos every day or every week or every couple days or whatever, then I'm not gaining that social media following to have my face as the face of Drywall Junkies. I just kind of let us run background kind of style. So there's not really a huge face with the company, but maybe over the next couple of years, like I said, that's probably going to be changing. And I've always picked and choose where I want to spend my time to
Yeah.
get to where I
Smart.
am now in life. And um, yeah, so I've always, been like, oh, I wish I could work more on Drywall Junkies and spend more time on it. Well, maybe I probably could alleviate more time to it because, when I'm sitting there scrolling Instagram or Facebook these days, like if I spent an extra 20 minutes making a post and whatever, then I would have that there. So it's all in what you put your time in and stuff too. So I don't
Yeah.
know. The monetizing of it, it's just the brand actually the first Drywall Junkies logo, which has a part of this logo in it, which if you
Yeah.
see here, so these two guys here and the Drywall Junkies thing with the circle
Hmm.
around it, it was a little bit more um less detailed. I had a guy down in the States, my buddy Adrian, which I've actually never met face to face. I met
Okay.
him playing Xbox back in the day in Fort McMurray in 2007. I went to Thailand in 2018 for my honeymoon with my wife. We went and spent 30 days there. And while I was there, I'm laying in bed one day and I'm like, you know what? I should really utilize some of this bunch of free time I got right now. While we're sitting in our hotel room, it's raining outside, whatever. So I went on and I used the app Fiverr or Fever, however you want to call it. And I just like said, hey, I need a logo for my Drywall Junkies group. Here's the group page. I kind of sketched something up of like some guys walking on stilts and a guy on a bench. And so basically, like they're drywalling a ceiling. This guy's holding it
Right.
up and this guy's screwing the ceiling.
I like
And
it.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So like that's kind of where it came from. I have I started with that, and my buddy Adrian, he's like, I'm going to start a design company. And if anybody's out there needs any designs done or whatever, so I reached out to him right away. He lives down in the States. He used to live in Florida. Now I think he lives in Tennessee. And anyways, he's like, yeah, I'll design your logo a little bit better for you and change it. So he like went on and he Googled the pouch and like what a pouch looks like with a hammer hanging out of it. Now, if you look, like you got the hammer hanging out of this
Hmm.
guy's pouch, and
Yeah.
it
That's my
looks like a
bench.
bench,
That's
right?
appropriate. That's an
Yeah,
appropriate
before
drywall
they
bench.
had it as like a platform with scaffolding arms coming out of it. And I was just like, so he worked on that and he did it for free, and I really appreciate it. And then he had a link up with some drop shipping apparel companies down in the States. So that's how we started with that. And I did my giveaway at 30,000 members. We did a giveaway there, and I tried to give away some other stuff at some times. And we did a Christmas giveaway. Certain Teeth jumped in on that one from Calgary here. They gave us some stuff, and
Okay.
a couple of our moderators had some things to give away too. And so when we started with that, and then we started doing the drop shipping, that's when we were able to start getting our product, like our shirts and our logo, just out there just for the members to like be proud of being a part of Drywall Junkies, and being a drywaller, and having that shirt where people are like, oh, Drywall Junkies, doesn't that make you look like a junkie? Like, are you a drug addict? And you're like, no, man, I'm
Yeah.
addicted to the trade. Steel Stud Addicts, right? So
Whatever.
that our name used to have Steel Stud Addicts too. We still kind of have that, but we're
I
more with the
remember.
Drywall Junkies thing. So, and yeah, so that's where
So would you
the
say
logo
Drywall
comes from.
Junkies is more hanging oriented than
No, well,
finishing?
Drywall Junkies, like, so that's what happened in the beginning of the thing. So when I just had Drywall Junkies at the beginning. And quick little side note, Drywall Junkies, the name comes from when I did this project in grade 8, and we had to make a CD cover, and it was called Roadhouse Junkies was the
Okay.
CD cover. So that's where I kind of got the Junkies, Drywall Junkies thing, right? You're
Yeah, I
addicted to the
like it.
trade. So we were in the Drywall Junkies thing, and then I just noticed that I was just getting only residential tradesmen coming through. And it was just drywall because people were Googling drywall. So that's where the name Steel Stud Addicts came from. So I'm like,
Okay.
I got to get to the commercial side of things because that's where I've spent most of my career. I did shacking for a while,
Okay. All
right? So
right.
I've spent most of my career in the commercial side of things. So I'm like, how do I get the
Steel
commercial side of
studs.
people? Yeah, let's go. Steel Stud Addicts, right? So
Yeah.
we had that name for a while. And then, everybody knows what Drywall Junkies is now. So we can kind of like not piggyback that Steel Stud thing anymore. Um, and yeah, go with the Drywall Junkies name. But then that's where that logo came from. That's where it got pushed into. As Adrian helped me refine it. We started doing drop shipping out of the States. I was using PayPal. Everybody was paying me through PayPal. And we were getting the product out there. Even I've gotten some shirts over in France, and a little bit in the like in Southeast Asia, a little bit out that way, and Europe, a little bit out that way, the UK. So not a whole bunch out that way. Most of our sales are in the States and Canada. Um, so, but yeah, and then now, you know, we have a social media team. We have
Are you
drop shipping.
on are you on CSR, the website? Did you get your stuff on there?
Oh, I
No.
haven't chatted with CSR at all.
Okay. Have you chatted with distributors about selling your swag?
No, I haven't. We kind of just got our model going up here in Calgary
Okay.
because we're using a company called Drive Sportswear, and those guys are great, and they do drop shipping. And they're, we get all our sales through them. Or all of our sales go through them, and they just package it up and get it shipped out within a day or two, kind of thing. So it depends on how busy it is. Right now it's Christmas time, so
Yeah.
shipping's a little bit longer, but that's how it's working. So like I said, I've focused more of my time with my personal life, business, trying to grow myself and where I'm at now and where the company is with 51 or sorry, with Drywall Junkies, is we're in a spot where we're going to start growing it. We're going to start, being a little bit more attentive to um our apparel line, and there's a lot of
Have
big
you done
goals.
have you done trademarking and all that yet?
We have it's a legitimate company here in Canada.
Okay.
Trademarking throughout the states and everything gets really expensive. I've looked into
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
There's actually been some other groups out there that started and they were like Steel Stud Junkies or like
Yeah.
there's been
I've
a couple
seen.
other off brands and I'd message them right away like, hey man, I appreciate you guys, because there is appreciation of someone trying to rip off your brand.
Yeah.
Because you're like, hey man, it must be cool enough that you want to, be like me or whatever. But at the same
Kinda.
time, it's like I'd message them and be like, hey guys, it's not really cool what you guys are doing. I get
Yeah.
where you're going with it, but back off kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like I have the social media following, and like you can try to, s- you know, um, steal our brand, but it's just I think it's past that point of being able to. We have too much backup, too many members. all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
And what is the domain? Is it www.drywalljunkies.com?
yes, that's exactly it.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
So
and yeah,
you were able to get the domain. That's a big deal.
yeah, exactly. We got the domain, and we also we also want to highlight certain people that are on the page. We've highlighted a couple people. Kayla was one of them.
Okay.
Um, Udo Hughes is another one. I don't know if you know who Udo is.
I was going to skip to where we sort of branched off when you were at 15,000 and you started to get the
Okay.
moderators.
Yeah.
So you like who were some of the first moderators you brought on, and then who's moderating now?
Okay. Ike Costner. He's an OG moderator. Steve
Okay,
Shivion. Sorry to try to say his name properly.
that's okay.
He's an OG moderator. We also had another guy that came on a while back. He didn't last too long. I can't remember his name, but then there was this Lalo. Okay, this
Lalo.
guy. He's a lot of people are going to remember this guy's name because he came in and he was awesome. He was one of our top promoters, like top posters and commenters. So I reached out to him. Hey man, you want to be a moderator of the group? You're super active in the group and all that stuff. He came on, and it was awesome for a while. But then he got himself into a predicament where he posted pictures of someone else's work, and he got called out for it. And everybody was like, "No." Like, Buddy posted all the pictures. He's like, "This is my job. Look, here's proof." Boom, boom, boom. And yeah, man, he got ran out of
Let
the
me
group.
stop you. Let me stop you right there. What must go through a person's mind? I don't even care. Because I have tons of photos of Fresco Harmony, and people will ask, like, "Hey, can I use your photo to promote?" Like, I don't give a shit. First of all, it's a two-pronged question. First of all, who gives a shit if somebody posts a picture of your work? Like,
Yeah,
secondly, who the fuck posts pictures of other people's work as their
that's a
own?
great two-pronged question. But there was a big issue with it. It went on for a couple
Lalo,
weeks, and then so like,
Lalo, why,
yeah,
Lalo?
I
I'm sure
he
I'm sure your work's great, and you've got an iPhone. Just fucking take a picture of it.
yeah, and I don't know. He realized he was in the wrong, and he apologized for it. But in the end, I couldn't have him as a brand moderator for Drywall Junkies because
Had
he
to let
had
him go.
that hex on him, right? So I did have to let him go. And
Sorry,
then at
Lalo.
that point,
Oh my god.
we also had Julio Martinez,
Okay.
which he's out of California. He's doing really well with his own business. And
That name sounds familiar.
he's a taper by trade, but his saying was "fuck it" all the time, right? Fuck it. Where are all you drywall junkies from? And he'd start these posts of like hundreds and hundreds of people. And he was a pusher, man. It was awesome having him around, but he just got too busy with his where he makes his money and stuff, so he had to back away.
Yeah.
So then at that point we brought Kayla in, the taping queen,
Yeah.
and yeah, so she's been doing a lot of awesome stuff. And so basically right now it's just me, Ike, Steve, and Kayla. And I talk about
Okay.
bringing other people in every once in a while, but the moderators, they're gung ho with we got it handled for now, and we don't want to have too many cooks to spoil the broth, so to speak. So
Yeah, if you have good moderation and everybody's getting along and there's good synergy, then everybody can
yeah,
handle the load, then why would you need more?
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So
And
yeah,
has Kayla brought like a good how long has she been your
she's been a
moderator now?
moderator for a year, maybe a year and a half,
And
something like that, maybe 2 years.
she's quite a brand ambassador. I mean, she's like,
Yes,
she's
she's helped
Can
push.
Am and all kinds of
Yeah,
tools and stuff. She's really
yeah, she's definitely helped push some sales. Like she would post a picture of her wearing a Drywall Junkies hoodie or something, and
oh
then
yeah.
I would get two or three, requests to purchase some stuff. Like we haven't sold like a lot of stuff. It's a lot of the product that we have now we paid up front for, so it's just sitting in
Yeah.
the storage plate, or whatever the warehouse, whatever you want to call it.
And do you ship to the
waiting to be
United
sold. So
States
yeah,
if I
we
want?
ship worldwide if we need to.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah, yeah. It just
I'm
depends
eyeballing
on.
the hoodie. A lot of the Canadian people, they have the hoodies without the zipper, but I noticed the Junkies hoodie
Yeah,
has I'm a zipper
we have the
guy.
zipper up. We have the zip up hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like up here. A lot of us like to rock the hoodie with the pockets in the front. I'm
Hmm.
not a zip up hoodie type guy, so
Okay.
um, but yeah, we try to we're trying to like have a good range of products and stuff. We got so like one thing that was a lot of big request was getting into high vis because everybody on like at construction sites you need to have high vis. So we kind of
Oh,
got that
right.
going now, but we haven't really sold too much of that. So we did put some stuff of that on sale,
No,
40%
because like
off.
you're not going to wear that to the store or something. I mean, you could wear it on the
Yeah,
job site. Here's my problem with shirts, and I've always been more of a proponent for the hats because
right.
like if you make a cool hat, then people will wear your hat. You can, and people will find a hat that they like, and if that's your hat, like they'll rock that shit every day.
Yeah, yeah,
That's way better branding than a shirt you wear once, maybe twice a month, and throw it into your laundry.
true.
That's a different. So I was always like put energy into cool hats, and
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe better bang for your buck. Um,
Yeah, I love hats. Like, I couldn't even tell you how many hats I have.
cool. We'll send you a
So,
hat. We'll get you a hat.
yeah, man, no, definitely. I'm definitely interested in your to checking out your product. I was out telling my business partner about it too, because he's a taper by trade, and I
Yeah.
was like, man, we got to check this product out because there's could be an opportunity for us here to
Yeah.
be, the sole um provider of it here in Calgary because we're our my company. I have another company. We have drywall. We have a drywall company. We do a little bit of residential, mostly commercial. The company's called 51 North Interiors. Here's our business card. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Put
Um,
it up. That is cool.
yeah, so 51 North Interiors, 51 is the latitude of Calgary. So 51 North is the latitude, and yeah, we do interiors, exteriors, whatever. And
Ah,
and I say, we do our finishing, our drywalling, insulation, soundproofing, fire stopping, but we try to say not limited to because, if a client comes to us or a customer and says, hey, listen, do you guys do this? Well, we don't do that, but I'm not going to stop there and say go look somewhere else. I'll try to put in the work to see if I can find someone that knows how to do it or make a few phone calls to
sure.
some people that I do know, and then get them in touch with them. So
Sure. Soon to be Fresco Harmony specialty wall finishes. We'll
yeah,
just add
exactly. I'm
that to your
definitely going to be
quiver.
checking out some of the YouTube videos that you got. Like you said, you have YouTube videos on that stuff, right? So I definitely want to check that out, and I could even like I'm in tight with a couple suppliers up here too, so I can maybe go talk to
Yeah.
them and just say, hey, listen,
Yep.
there's this product down in the States that they're going to start bringing up here in Canada, and we should get in on it. So
Yeah, I was very excited to get with Brad over at CSR. That is a very big step for my product for sure.
yeah,
Those guys are cool. And they have the website. It was a really good fit, and they're like super progressive. It's such a cool store. I don't know if you've been to CSR.
I don't know if they have CSRs out
There's
west
just
here.
one. There's
It
just
might
one.
also it's just one, so that's in Ontario then.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I was just
Toronto.
gonna check my phone here, but yeah, no, that's over in Ontario, close. Yeah, Kayla makes the drive. I think it's closer to Toronto there. So because
Hmm.
Kayla's in Ottawa. Um, so yeah, so where I grew up, and started in the trade was it's like 3.5 hours, 4 hours from Toronto.
Okay.
Um, yeah, they call it the asshole of Canada, Windsor, Ontario. It's right across from Detroit. So
Okay.
that's a difference. There's a different mentality in that city too. And I'm happy I got out of there, but I'm glad I grew up there, kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Well,
pretty
man,
cool.
I've been wrangling like Canadians left and right on the podcast, and I kind of don't care. Like, there's the whole, American proud thing and all that, but like it's just been like the way it's been going. Like the Canadians are paying attention. Um, I didn't know you were Canadian. I was just like I wanted to get Rick originally I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and interview just the people that started like the pages on Facebook,
Yeah.
and then they'll post the Drywall podcast to the page, and boom, it'll like blow up. And that's not really
Yeah.
how it's gone. It's been it's like it's actually gone virally. Like people just have like kind of like you figure out one, or you listen to like the Columbia Tools one or something and you like it, and then maybe you'll be like, oh, I know that person, and you listen to
Yeah.
theirs, and then like what happens is you end up listening to them all because they're interesting and they're about the trade, and like people
Yeah.
are just digging the podcast because it's a decent
Yeah. And if they got
podcast.
something that I can learn from them too, like I'm
Yeah,
all about that too. Just
yeah,
trying to get better every day, and just make the trade better. I'm trying to do that. Like I'm trying to change the world with our company.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and it's tougher than I thought. I want to unify the trade so that we can start getting paid more. You guys talked about this.
yeah,
Um, and but like because like a labor rate for a drywaller versus a labor rate for like a plumber or an electrician, they're quite a bit different. Like we're talking $8 to $10 an hour difference, sometimes
yeah.
15. Um, and that's for journeyman. And I don't understand the difference of it. Like our scope on a site is pretty much the largest scope out of all trades. Unless there's like, you're building a giant building, you got the ironworking and concrete and all that other stuff. But like we kind of like we work with everybody too. We work with the plumbers, we work with the electricians and the flooring guys because we're there right till almost the end of the project, right up to when you're doing your ceiling tile or and I think that the vision's there. And the growth when it comes to your podcast and to Drywall Junkies, it takes longer than you envision. Same with building your business. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start a business. I'll be making $1 million a year in 6 months. And
Yeah.
you're like, well, that's not even a full year. And you're like, oh yeah, I can do it. It's no problem. If that guy did it, if he can do it, I can do it. And then you're like 2 years into your business or whatever, and you're like, man, this is you learned a lot, and it doesn't go as fast
Yeah.
as you want. And you
Well, a
have
lot of
ups and then
people go
some.
back. A lot of people go back. They like quit. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, it
it
gets
really
tough and
takes
they quit.
some chutzpah. That first rent check rolls around where it's like rent's due. You don't have a job. You know,
Yeah.
and it gets real easy to give up. I don't think entrepreneurs or people that run their own, and I like digging into the conversation about running your own business. I think that's a good one. And there's a lot of tradesmen who would like to branch out on their own. And so a lot of the pages get questions about that, and they get a lot of criticism or
Yeah.
about like,
But
oh,
what
you're
would you
asking
charge for this question?
like
That
okay, like I get it, but it's still at the same time like everybody had to ask that question or look it up, just because you don't know. you know I talk about it in one of the interviews where I was lucky I had a boss that was just really cool and open about that, where
yeah.
I asked and he was cool, and I was like, how do you figure out what this room's going to cost? He's like, well, you break down the square footage, and like, just like anything, you have to learn. And that's a neat thing that, not only you got to nurture that because it's going to paint drywallers as dicks, and it's not nurturing that, all the new people coming into the trade.
Yeah,
And that's important too, because we're running out of tradesmen,
we
you
are.
know,
We are. The
like,
the apprentice thing, like where that's one thing that we try to push too is like we'll hire, like you don't have to have experience. You just have to have a work ethic and show up every day.
yeah,
And be willing to grow as a tradesperson, buying your own tools, learning, asking questions about stuff, not just going and be like, well, that guy is not going to tell me what it is, so I'm not going to learn. Well, no, you need to go up and ask why he's holding his tape measure a certain way. Why is he cutting the drywall with that knife? Whole Olfa versus drywall knife, argument back and forth. Um, and
yeah,
like that's kind of how I grew in the trade, was I just asked questions, and I always try to, like when I seen someone that was really good, moving faster than everybody else, I would try to center myself around that and just
yeah,
build myself up, and you can't help others until you help yourself. Like you really need to to work on your strengths, and your weaknesses are, this is one thing that Gary Vaynerchuk says, double down on your strengths, leave your
Yeah.
weaknesses kind of behind,
Love
right? And it's
that.
like,
Love that.
yeah, and it's a great mentality. So you got to do that, and then that's when once you know what you're really strong at, you can take that and go and help other people. So that's kind of like where I'm at. I realize like I'm really good in the trade. I'm really good on the tools. And I remind myself every time when, we get a little bit overwhelmed and I got to go out to the field and throw the tools on. And then I get stuff done and I'm like, man, why did I like pull myself out of the field? Well, I seen a bigger picture. I built so many things in my career that I was just like, I was getting bored of doing just framing and boarding and framing and boarding and T-bar and boarding. Like I never really got into taping too much. I can, throw some mud on the wall. I'll probably have to sand a lot more than most people, but
No, honestly, I think you're one of our first boardmen. Like most
okay.
of the podcast is finishers. Yeah, so
Yeah, well,
that's
I
cool.
consider myself an
This has been
ISM.
cool.
I'm an interior systems mechanic,
Okay.
and I focused on learning as much as I could about the trade. Right from layout, blueprint reading. Actually, when I was high school, I took some AutoCAD classes, so that helped me get into, like, when I got into the trade, I already knew what blueprints were. I looked at them, I could kind of navigate myself around them. So right from blueprint reading, layout, exteriors, interiors, drywall, framing, and I always ask the tapers questions too, because I wanted to make sure that my drywall product, my finished product for them, was as primo as it could be. Because one, and it's a selfish reason, I hate listening to people bitch and complain about shit, especially about me. So if I can do anything I can to prevent that, I'll stop that. So I would ask the tapers, how do you do this? Oh, I'll wash them and put on a corner bead and coat the corner bead. Hey, can I take your trowel? Let me try this. And that's how I got a little bit of taping experience. But it's just, I wanted to learn as much as I could so I could leave a finished product for the next person so that they could do their job as efficiently as possible. So that's why I wanted to start my own company, so that I could also help people come up in the trade and try to get that influx of apprentices, because the apprentices, they're far and few between these days. It might be a little bit different when it comes to union. I don't know what their apprenticeship rate is, but I find, like, because in Alberta, there's not a very strong union at all for the drywall trade. There used to be, but it kind of got ran out a long time ago, way before I moved to Alberta. But yeah, so they used to actually had a training that you could go and do your get your ISM ticket here, and they canceled that program as well. That used to be up in
What's
Edmonton.
a ISM ticket?
Interior systems mechanics ticket. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's basically, you'd go to school. It's 2 months, 3 times. So you go your first 2 months, get your first year. Next 2 months, a couple years, like a year later, you get your second year. Then you go right. You do your next 2 months, and then you do you write your test and all that stuff. And I got my first one back in Ontario. I went to just outside of Toronto. It's called Hamilton, and I went and did the course there, and I was there for 2 months, and it was a hell of a time. Young, partying. So we got some cool stories about that. But yeah, I left that. I got the highest scores in the class, man, and I was patting myself on the back, because I have the guy that got me in the trade. He ended up being a little bit of a dickhead, in life. And he said to me one time, he goes, "Kyle, you'll never be as good as me, and you'll never make as much money as me." And I took that personally, and I
Yeah.
made sure I beat him, because we went to school at the same time. And he finished his last module. We had to build our own module with, like, arch doorway, octagon window, pilaster, like a column in the corner, some T-bar. He finished his 3 hours faster than me, but everything that I built was on point. And so they did, like, the teacher, he marked everybody's units, and then the class, they went and marked everybody's units, and the collective number is what you got scored. And I scored the highest in the class, so I'm patting myself on the back for that. But yeah,
Nice.
so it's all about bringing this to more people into the trade, and the awareness. So, like, it's cool that everybody's getting themselves out there with their drywall pages, Instagram. You got the
Yeah.
drywall podcast now. That's gonna, you're definitely gonna gain a lot of clout on that. And there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of us drywallers out there. We just don't
Mhm.
know that many yet, right? Like it's starting to get out there, and a lot of the
Yeah.
same people circulate through the pages. But like, if we all just start sharing it with people and pushing, like the older generation, you got the boomers and the older guys, like they still got flip phone with drywall mud stuck in the numbers, and like they're not the ones that are going to be on the Facebook, but it's the younger generation, us guys that are 45, 40, 35, 30.
Yeah.
We're the generation that's going to push this, and we
The
need
young
to.
guys are really getting into like the newer stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been getting more approached and more interest from the younger dudes in the trade with
Mhm.
as it pertains to Fresco Harmony. It's very interesting. They're
Yeah.
way more open. They're like, this is neat. I want to try this. Like,
Mhm.
versus like an old schooler. It's like, oh, you can't do that. I tried to do that 15 years ago and it doesn't work. Like two different schools of thought.
Yeah, yeah,
You
exactly. And
know.
like let's talk about the tool industry a little bit here. Like how far the tool industry has come in the last 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that like a lot of the taping tools, that stuff was out, but like there's a lot of companies now that are doing it, and it has made the trade, like the tapering side of things, so much faster and so much more dialed in. And you got these vacuum sanders that are coming out now, and
Mm-hmm.
um, those things are amazing. They're expensive, and you need to have the right application for them. But we got like and then lasers, Hilti lasers,
Mm-hmm.
DeWalt, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I don't think Makita might have a
That's
laser
good.
too. I don't know.
I'm a DeWalt guy too. And yeah, DeWalt gets bashed a little bit, but I was sort of surprised to hear you say that. I don't like, like I'm as efficient with hanging. I don't frame at all, but I'm as efficient with hanging probably as you are with finishing. Very little,
Right.
like just enough to do it bad.
Yeah.
But I have the tools and they're DeWalt. I like DeWalt stuff. It's always been a good brand.
Yeah. My pouch has always been littered in black and yellow
I have a
for a
weed
long,
eater.
long time.
I have a DeWalt weed eater that kicks ass.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. And then, I think Milwaukee is really making a huge impact in the tool world too. Those guys, they got a battery operated tool for almost everything now.
Yeah.
The Walt's kind of they're coming behind it a bit, but they like you got the Walt, Black and Decker, and
Yeah.
just depends on who's pushing their product out. Like
Well,
Home
and now
Depot up here, they.
DeWalt and Level 5 have sort of teamed up,
Oh,
you
really?
know.
Okay, that I did
Yeah,
not know.
the DeWalt knives and the Hawk is
Okay,
also that's all Level 5.
right, right,
I don't know a ton about it, but I know I've met Scott a couple of times. Really nice guy. He's always been a proponent of Fresco Harmony, and
right.
he's given me like I like their mixers. Like
Yeah,
every people are quick to bash, but like I give that a lot of weight, and their knives are fantastic. I really do like the Level 5 knives.
yeah. I think not being a true finisher, but seeing what other people like. I think level 5, a lot of people like their stuff.
Mhm.
And I like the
Yeah.
branding too. Level 5, like
Yeah, good
that's
branding.
what's the highest level of drywall finishing there is out there? Level 5.
Yeah.
So, I
And
think
the
that's
red,
pretty cool brand.
they're all over
Yep.
social media.
Yeah.
Um, that I had no idea about Columbia. Like it was just serendipitous that I met those guys. That was all a really crazy story.
Yeah.
We talk about it on the podcast. It's really funny though. I messaged them by accident like, on Instagram. And like I thought I was messaging somebody else. And I was like, hey, you should be on the podcast. And and Aaron texted me like 2 weeks later, and I was like, and then I noticed it was like Columbia Tools, and I was like, oh, whatever. And like 2 weeks later, Aaron was like, dude, I'm on my 7th podcast. This thing's amazing.
Oh, yeah,
So
man.
yeah, so then I've started to learn about the tools, and then Wolfgang with a Can-Am and semi-automatic versus the automatic tools. The drywall specific taping tools are extraordinary. Like
Yeah.
that world is pretty cool. A lot of
Yeah. And
innovation.
the speed is incredible now. Like
Yeah.
back when I started in the trade, I don't remember there being like bazookas and stuff. I don't know the timeline of when all that stuff started coming out, but everybody was a hand finisher. Everybody,
Hmm.
and
Listen to the Columbia podcast. They talk about Ames. Their dad like
right.
invented like the Columbia tools and shit. Like they were
Okay.
in the back of a drywall yard like tooling tools. Like
Crazy.
yeah, like back in the
Yeah.
day. Like his dad was like
Pioneering, man,
this
for the industry.
weird like inventor guy, and
Yeah.
and then they were leasing or renting all of the tools Ames, and then when that came up, then there was this insurgence of like these different brands started to come out with their own tools. It's pretty interesting.
That is pretty neat. Actually, a cool tip I was thinking of was um so Certainteed is, I don't know, do you guys have Certainteed down that way? I think so. I
I'm
would think so, yeah.
familiar with the
I'm pretty
brand.
sure you guys would. So Certainteed, they have a where or like a shop here. They make drywall. They make drywall mud here in Calgary. And I did a
Okay.
job at their office space, and we used all their product. We used this specialty, the M tube tack board. We also use this backer drywall that's got certain amount of tensile strength, so you don't need to put backing in. You can just screw a screw into the wall and hang a picture on it, whatever, right? Um, so we used a bunch of specialty products there. And while I was there, I'm like, well, hey man, I would really love to do a tour of your facility. And now, like thinking hindsight, maybe I should have took a camera in there with me. They might have told me no cameras, but maybe I could have like, done something on the page itself to,
Yeah.
say, hey, like we're here, we're do a little bit more of like social media presence, but that's just not where my mind was. But so we
Yeah.
went and did this tour, and they told us that Certainteed started the original company that turned into the brand Certainteed started like 300 years ago back in like in Europe, in the UK area, back when like they were doing like masonry and windows, and like they have this whole story. You'd have to look into it, but basically they told me they have this whole story. It's like a couple hundred years. This company's been around for a couple hundred years, and it's changed its face different times to go with the economy and whatever. But they started, it was a construction based company, but it was like in like specialty windows and stuff like that too. So like the it's a really cool story, and like I never ever fact checked it, but that's what these guys told me, and I would take their word pretty credible, because they're running Certainteed, which is a pretty large scale company. A
Yeah.
lot of drywall and a lot of drywall mud goes through Canada up here, and that's what they're saying where it all kind of originated was back when they were building castles and shit like that. So
Cool
pretty cool.
story.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Um, Kyle, Catling.
Catling. Everybody
Not
says
K.
Catling. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right. I know it's a hard.
Yeah.
It was like even like on the second round, it's like hard. Kyle Catling, but I think it's
Yeah.
important. Names are important. It's important. I'm really big on like trying to get names right, and even if you screw up, like re-say it again or ask the person. Thank you so much for being on the Drywall podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
how cool. This was super cool. And the Drywall Junkies guy, maybe the pioneer of the Facebook pages.
I'm gonna go down with go down in flames if there was someone else before me,
We'll
but
just say it.
I
If
really
you
don't think so.
if you were before Kyle, I want to hear about it. You can email me at the Drywall Podcast, info@frescoharmony.com. Let me know if we're wrong. There's definitely time to fix it before this airs. But pearl of wisdom, every interviewee does a pearl of wisdom that they would instill upon the trade if they had one thing to say to your fellow tradesmen. What would it be?
I go back to asking questions. Make sure you listen to the people that you see they know what they're doing. If they're leaving shitty quality products at the end and they're saying don't do that and cut corners here and there, I'd say stick away from those guys. Surround yourself with people who are winners. Surround yourself with people that are going to elevate you and make you a better person, better tradesman, whatever. Work on yourself so that you can help others in the trade. and take passion in what you do every single day, because that's going to help you strive forward and just become a better tradesperson, tradesman, tradeswoman, however you want to put it. Um, and just do good work for people, because people are paying, they're spending their hard-earned money. Everybody thinks that, oh, well, the client has thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, they got there somehow. Maybe it was a hand-me-down, but most of the time people, they started at the bottom and worked their way up. As you can say, like, I'm a first generation drywaller in my family. I got two sons. I'm going to do my best to teach them to be good people and respect others and do good work and take pride in their work. So that's what I say. Take pride in your work, ask as many questions as you can, and listen. Don't ask a question without listening. You got to listen.
Love it. And also, too, just for our listeners, Kyle is he's a normal human like you and I. He started Drywall Junkies. It's a super cool page on Facebook. If you don't know about it, if you've been living in a cave, go check out Drywall Junkies, and
We're on Facebook. We're on
there.
Instagram. We have a website, www.drywalljunkies.com. We're not on TikTok. Not yet, anyways. Yeah, we got some apparel. If you guys want to stay warm, we got lots of warm clothing. We got high vis stuff. We got some cool hats.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah. If you are inclined, or if you've been a member of Drywall Junkies and you've gotten value out of the group, go buy something and support Kyle and Drywall Junkies by purchasing some swag like that. This is how we support each other in this trade. This is how we lift each other up, is by you can, just because, don't ask for free stuff. Go and buy something from. And where is the best place to buy some cool Drywall Junkies swag?
That would be on www.drywalljunkies.com. If you're unsure, you can find me on the Facebook group under admins and just message me. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can, and I can direct you in that way if you have any questions about anything. But yeah, the support would be great, guys. Trying to get that Drywall Junkies name out there a bit more, and we just want to eventually get into brand of tools and specific clothing for the trade for us as the tradespeople out in the field, and because we're the ones that do the work out there, and we want to keep everybody safe and efficient, and that's kind of where our mindset is behind here. I'm not in it to make millions of dollars. I'm in here to help the community. So anything you guys can do to help works.
And if I'm a tool manufacturer, something I want to advertise or work with Kyle in some capacity, what's a good way to get a hold of you?
You can reach me on Facebook, or you can email me at kyle@drywalljunkies.com. I'll say that again, kyle@drywalljunkies.com. You can email me there too and find me there, and or just message the page directly. And I usually watch the messenger there. So there's
cool.
many ways.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit through Instagram Messenger. It seems like you go on there a little bit too. Thank you so much for being on the Drywall podcast today. We are going to follow and continue to hang out with Drywall Junkies on the Facebook page and the Instagram page and maybe the TikTok page in the near future. And I'm going to get some swag.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Let me know.
All right.
And thanks for having me on there, and thanks for creating the Drywall podcast. It's just the next step in like having the community as one. And I know it's not just me that appreciates it. Everybody else that's out there, and any listeners, they're going to appreciate it too. You're doing good things, and
thanks.
And good luck with it, man. And hey, maybe we have another meeting in a year from now. Have a different conversation. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Enjoy your evening. Go hang out with your family, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Will do. Okay, guys. Have a good one.
All right, bye. Special thanks to Kyle Catling for being with us on the Drywall podcast today. We appreciate your time and value your information. You can listen to the Drywall podcast every Friday with a fresh new episode on platforms such as Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and also YouTube. Be sure to check out our Instagram and Facebook and YouTube pages. We post teasers every week of the episode where you can see what our guest and myself actually look like talking. Thank you so much for listening to the Drywall podcast today. We sincerely appreciate it. And remember, keep drywalling.